How is everybody doing? I hope everybody is doing very well today and having a good Ramadan time. Um, my name is Zenia, and I'm going to be leading the session for today. And our session today is all about vegan nutrition, and which also includes plant-based food. So we're going to talk about plant-based foods, why we should include plant-based foods, what are the benefits of eating plant-based meals. At the same time, let's look at how you can improve your intake with plant-based foods and improve the nutrient absorption. As we know, plant-based foods or vegan nutrition lacks in a certain nutrient. So we'll go over those as well. And additionally, I would love to ask a few questions to the audience and see what your responses are. So let's try and keep it interactive, and we'll begin the session in next 30 seconds as well. Um, to add to it, I don't want to only focus on vegan nutrition, but yes, the topic is vegan nutrition. I am going to talk about all the other types of plant based foods that are there as a part of the vegan diet as well. So, welcome once again to everybody who's just joined in. What do we know about vegan nutrition, right? So, vegan nutrition or plant based foods is eating whole plant foods in addition to adding your other balanced meals as well, your healthy fats, your proteins, all of that, but all entirely from plant-based foods. And simply eating a variety of whole plant foods along with healthy fats can increase your odds of avoiding chronic diseases. So that's why it's really really good to include a lot of plant-based meals in your diet. So what's the difference between vegan and plant-based diet? Plant-based diet has other types as well, where you can be a lacto or ovo vegetarian, pescatarian, which includes plant-based meals, includes fish as a part of the diet, and does not include meat. And then you have your semi-vegetarian, which includes eggs also, which also is it includes dairy as well, or also called as the flexitarian diet. So it's a flexitarian diet is someone who follows plant-based meals on certain days of the week, and other days they choose to eat other foods as well. And for vegan nutrition is entirely consuming foods that are only made from plants and has no animal sources at all, including honey as well. So, plant-based foods or vegan diet is definitely high in a lot of good stuff, right? Which is fiber, vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, phytochemicals, and it's also slightly low on the glycemic index, which is your carbs. But it's also low in the bad stuff, which is a great way to add lots of nutrients in your diet. So what is it low in? It's low in saturated fats, your dietary cholesterol, your sodium, and even toxins like these heterocyclic amines, polycystic aromatic hydrocarbons. All of these are formed in when you are cooking, curing, or processing meats. So it's absolutely low in all of that. It does not include all of that when you have plant-based foods or plant-based meals. What are some of the what are some of the things that you must know, or what are the essential nutrients that you must focus on while you're following a plant-based diet, or if you're a vegetarian or you're already a vegan individual following a vegan diet? Whether you're a vegan or not, it is always important to eat a wide variety of vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. All of that is there, right? So what are the things that we need to focus on? There's a bunch of nutrients that they say if you're following a vegan diet or if you're a vegetarian, you may be lacking in. So let's look at what are the nutrients that you may lack in, on how you need to incorporate these into the diet, what are the food sources of these nutrients, and how to increase their absorption. Um, I would love to ask a question to the audience. Which nutrient is likely to be lacking in a vegan diet? If you have the answer to that question, put it down in the comments. This is just one question that I would love to ask everybody. Which nutrient is likely to be lacking in a vegan diet? You may have heard that, hey, I'm a vegan, and or I follow a vegetarian diet, and I moreover lack in this nutrient. Deficiency is common in which deficiency is most common in a vegan diet? I'm going to give another 5 or 10 seconds for people to answer. I do have some responses here. Um, okay, so if you've answered vitamin B12, then that's great. So vitamin B12 is most likely to fall short in these diets, which are predominantly made of plant-based foods. So if you are predominantly a vegetarian or a vegan, then vitamin B12 is could be definitely lacking in your diet. So make sure that you're not deficient in that vitamin, because the main food source of vitamin B12 is meats and fish, and the plant sources are very minimal, very less. So to get vitamin B12, it's very important to add, vegan sources of milk options or milk products that are fortified with vitamin B12. Yeast extracts or nutritional yeast also will give you vitamin B12. At the same time, even fortified breakfast cereals as well will give you vitamin B12. So, how much do you need? About 2 servings a day is what you need to include to get your recommended dietary intake of vitamin B12. Right. The next nutrient is protein. So a very common misconception that, hey, I'm a vegetarian and I don't reach my recommended protein intake. What are the foods that I can include for getting up my protein intake? So protein is very important, right, for our muscles, our bone structure. It is very important to fighting infections, speeding up certain body chemical reactions, making hormones, and so much more. So certain plant-based foods are particularly good sources of protein, and you can include around like 70 grams, which is half a cup of beans, lentils, chickpeas, about 100 grams of tofu, or even tempeh, soy alternatives to milk and yogurt, and about 2 tablespoons or 1.5 tablespoons of nut butter, peanuts are also good sources of protein. So that's where you get your protein from your plant-based foods. I would recommend 2 servings of legumes, about half a cup of tofu or 1 cup of soy milk. These daily, either of these daily will get you your protein intake as well. And many of these protein plant-based foods have all of the essential amino acids that the body requires. Other sources are also cashew nuts, pistachio nuts, some chia seeds, blended flax seeds, hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds. All of these are also great sources. In addition to that, quinoa, wild rice, buckwheat are also good sources of your protein. Now, iron is also noted to be quite low in individuals following a vegan or a vegetarian diet, right? So it's very important that you include a lot of iron-rich foods. Now, there is an issue when you have a lot of iron-rich foods, because the absorption can reduce if you're having any blockers in your diet. For example, if you're having tea or coffee along with an iron rich food, the iron will not be efficiently absorbed from that particular food in the body. So, how do you increase the absorption for iron? You include vitamin C rich foods to increase the absorption of iron. What are some of the iron rich foods that you can have? Figs, oatmeal, spinach, green peas, raisins, sunflower seeds, almonds, lentils, chickpeas. All of these are very, very high in iron. And at the same time, when you combine them with a vitamin C rich food, which is broccoli, bell peppers, cabbages, kiwis, citrus, all of this will improve the absorption of iron. Another one nutrient is zinc. Now, zinc is very important for speeding up your reactions, your fighting infections. And where do you find zinc, right? Zinc rich foods are whole wheat bread, oatmeal, peanuts, almonds. So you see a lot of nuts and seeds, grains such as your high fiber grains, oatmeal, quinoa, all of them are rich sources of the essential nutrients your body requires while you're in a plant based food. And to improve the absorption of zinc, sprouting these grains or seeds will actually help with the absorption as well. Now, another nutrient, the next nutrient is calcium. Calcium is, of course, as we know, it's very important for your bone health, also for your nervous system, blood clotting, controlling your muscles, all of that. So, along with vitamin D, right? So, how do you get calcium if you are a vegan and you're avoiding dairy as a food group altogether? If you are consuming dairy as a food group, it's great. You will have definitely have some sources of calcium, which is your yogurt, low fat milk, etc. But if you're a vegan, you definitely need to look for fortified, plant based milks. These are your good options. And the other things are also your vegetables, your bok choy, your fresh and dried figs, mustard greens, kale, tofu, chia seeds. All of these are great sources of calcium that you can include in your diet. The next one is vitamin A. Now, vitamin A is very important for our eye health, normal functioning of our immune system, which we very much require right now, right? The whole immune system to fight infections, etc. So, include all types of orange foods, which is your orange fruits or orange vegetables like your pumpkin, your butternut squash, sweet potatoes. They will give you all the required vitamin A. Now, here's a trick with improving the absorption of vitamin A. Combine it with healthy fats. It could be nuts, it could be seeds, it could be a drizzle of olive oil over this vitamin A rich foods that will increase the absorption of vitamin A in the body. And cooking these foods actually increases the quantity of vitamin A in the food as well. The next nutrient that you must focus on is omega 3. Now, omega 3 is, of course, important for our immune system, nerves, eyes, provides energy, supports cell growth, protects organs, all of that, right? And it also keeps, your lipid profile, which is your cholesterol levels, your HDL on the higher side, LDL on the lower side. Now, where do you get omega 3 fats? There are very few sources of omega 3 fats, so it's very important to add them as frequently as possible in the diet. So, your seeds like chia seeds, flax seeds, nuts like walnuts are very, very high in omega 3, and include at least 1.5 teaspoon of olive oil or avocado oil, etc., flaxseed oil, sesame seed oil in the diet to, in alternate days, to increase the omega 3 in the diet as well. And nuts quantity should be about 1 tablespoon, which is 15 grams, to about 1.5 tablespoon as well. The next one is vitamin D. Now, we all know vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin, right? We get it from sunlight, but your absorption all depends on the color of your skin. If you are light skinned, then you would need some more time. If you're dark skinned, then you need lesser time out in the sun. The other sources are, let's say, if you're not following a vegan diet and you do have the dairy group included in your daily diet, then you can include milk, plant-based milks also, even yogurt. All of these are good sources of vitamin D. Also, if you're not a vegan but you follow a lacto ovo vegetarian diet, which includes dairy and also eggs, then eggs, or specifically eggs yolk, so the whole egg is very, very high in vitamin D, so you definitely can include that into your diet. However, we're still going to talk about vegan foods here, and not the other plant-based as well. um, whether this particular diet, vegan, plant based diet, is for you or not, how do you know? So, according to the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, vegan based diet or a plant based food diet is healthy, is absolutely healthy diet for people of all ages, including kids, pregnant, lactating women, and even athletes. But it's very important to know, if you are, if your child or you as a family is following a vegan or a plant-based diet, then definitely make sure that your child does not go into deficiency of the crucial vitamins like your calcium, vitamin D, protein, all of that. It's very important to include all the nutrients that can be lacking in the diet because you follow a plant-based meals. Also, try and avoid this plant-based or a vegan diet if you are deficient already in any vitamin. For example, also if you are deficient in iron, anemia, if you already have anemia, then definitely you should not follow a plant-based, because you need to increase the iron-rich sources in your food. And iron rich sources are, higher absorption happens with animal based food, so that is ideally better. If you have any allergy intolerances, I would suggest no. Another one is that if you have migraines, and if you don't know your triggers, then try and see that if there is any particular foods that are plant based that could be a trigger. For example, some people struggle with nuts, seeds. Some people have triggers such as citrus fruits or breads, or even beans are known to be their triggers for migraine. So just know your triggers, and if it is plant based food trigger, and definitely avoid a high plant-based diet. Also, if you are now, who is this diet particularly for? If you're a diabetic, if you're a pre-diabetes individual, if you have thyroid, if you have any hormonal imbalances like PCOD, or if you're going through menopause, if you generally have a very high meat consumption or high consumption of packaged foods, then definitely this diet is for you, because you need to include a lot of plant-based foods that will add a lot of fiber, all these natural nutrients, phytochemicals, and reduce the inflammation in your body as well. Five simple guides that I would like to share of how to include vegan foods in your diet. Um, first step is eat 3 servings of beans or tofu or tempeh or soy milk each day. Second tip is get most of your fats from your nuts and nut butters, avocados, seeds, and moderate amount of oils. Don't focus oils as your major source of omega-3 or healthy fats as well. But definitely, like I mentioned, all the type of oils that you can include, you do that as well. Tip number 3 is have at least 3 cups of calcium rich foods, which we spoke about, veggies included. Tip number 4, meal planning. It's very, very important to have a lot of meal planning, because that's going to help you identify which are the foods that you're not having very frequently, how much time you need to prepare. So meal prep is a great way. Research what are the foods that you don't include, what are the food groups that you kind of avoid moreover. So plan your meals. That will help you include a lot of vegan rich foods or plant-based foods in your diet. And tip number 5 is, if you are recently switching to a vegan or a vegetarian diet or a plant-based diet, and you're craving animal foods, it could be because you have a strong preference to the taste of glutamate. Glutamate is also known as umami, right? So there are certain plant foods high in umami, such as ripe tomatoes, tamari, miso, sauerkraut, dried sea vegetables, marmite, nutritional yeast, all of this, even olives as well, mushrooms. These are high in glutamate. And that, including these plant based foods in your diet, will help you to reduce the craving for animal proteins. as well. Look at the things that we should not overdo. What you should not overdo when you are following or switching to a vegan diet or a plant-based diet. There's a lot of mock meats out in the market, packaged foods that are high in sodium and high in saturated fat. So make sure that you're not having all of those. Stick to whole foods, grains, seeds, nuts, vegetables, fruits, all of that we spoke about. Um, Try not to have very high amount of refined carbs, because as a vegetarian, naturally your diet becomes very high in carbs if you are focusing on a lot of rice, potatoes, pastas, all of that. However, focus on more complex carbohydrates that will include a lot of fiber and reduce those cravings and unnatural issues with deficiencies also will not happen. And at the same time, it will help overall with your calorie intake as well. um, Look after oxalates. Oxalates are they don't usually affect vegans. Oxalates are a compound in certain plant foods, such as spinach is very, very high, beets are very, very high in oxalates, and this can actually have an impact on inflammation in the body. So to reduce the oxalates, cook them. It's better. And if you are somebody who does a lot of juicing, like juicing of spinach and celery and beets and all of that, reduce the frequency, because that's going to build a lot of oxalates in the body. So cooking these foods are better. And at the same time, overall, just relook at how balanced your plate is. That's the most important thing at the end. If your plate is well balanced with a lot of healthy fats, complex carbohydrates like beans, grains, lentils, and proteins of natural sources, plant-based proteins, then you have a balanced plate there. So it's very important to have a balanced meal and not overdo a certain food group while following any particular diet. And lastly, why you should follow a plant-based diet. There's a lot of benefits to it. You'll be able to manage your weight better because your calorie consumption will change. It's lower in oxidative stress and inflammation. It adds less inflammation to the body. There is reduced risk of heart disease. There is reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, reduced risk of cancer even. And it also improves your overall gut health and your overall immune system. So having to realign your gut with the good amount of microbial community, which is your good bacteria in the gut, so that your body absorbs the essential fats, it absorbs the essential nutrients from the food. Having good amount of bacteria is very important. And plant-based foods, which give a lot of prebiotic fiber through the leafy vegetables and all the skins and everything through the vegetables, the prebiotic fiber feeds the healthy bacteria. So that's how it realigns your gut and makes you feel better. You debloat, and at the same time help to push your weight here on the lower side, and you overall feel lighter as well. Lastly, plant-based foods also help with brain protection because you're adding a lot of omega-3 rich foods. And there's a study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition which says that plant-based foods for a long term actually helps with longevity. So that's a few things that I would love that is about the session today. I would love to take any questions if you may have. Please drop them in the comment section, and I will take the questions up right now. I think we have one question here, which is from Asha. Vegan diet for autoimmune disease. What is advised? So, for autoimmune disease, is very important that you follow a whole plant-based diet. and definitely reduce any sort of inflammation in the food. So, for example, in the diet, which is inflammatory foods are a lot of fried, a lot of processed foods, high in preservatives, additives, and a lot of red meat as well. So, if you reduce that consumption, is definitely going to improve your autoimmune condition. Definitely, eating a plant-based diet is going to have a positive impact on certain autoimmune diseases because it reduces inflammation, like I said, from the meat sources and sometimes dairy as well. So, if the dairy is affecting your condition, then definitely cut it out. There is definitely a large group of studies suggesting that dairy does add certain amount of inflammation. So cutting that out is definitely helpful. So in holistically, if you follow a plant-based diet, which is predominantly only vegan-based diet, which is only plant foods, not including dairy, not including any eggs or meat, then definitely is going to be beneficial for your condition. There are studies that say that definitely including a Mediterranean diet or a DASH diet also helps. But you could start with, if you're going to switch, you could start by switching to a vegetarian first, and then switching overall to a vegan diet. Okay. Okay, I think there is one question which says that what is the daily recommended intake of sugar? So, your daily recommended intake of sugar should be ideally less than 5 grams. That includes packaged meals, natural sugars, all of that as well. So, how do you know? When you're looking at packaged foods or processed foods, you will be able to see at the back of the label what is per serving, how much of sugar it's giving you, and this is we're talking about added sugar. Natural sugars will always be below the carbohydrates mentioned. That is a part of your carbohydrate itself, so you don't have to worry about that. But look at the added sugars. Added sugars should be always less than 5 grams, because having high amount of added sugar is always going to affect your overall insulin, and at the same time add some sort of inflammation to the body as well. Okay, is there any other questions you have about vegan nutrition, plant-based foods, what to include, what you should not include? Okay, I think we have one more question. I think I've kind of answered this in my topic, in my discussion. It's, is it difficult to obtain sufficient vitamin D from plant-based foods? False. It's not, like, I mean, definitely that's not true. You can definitely include a lot of vitamin D rich foods, like I mentioned. There is, if you're following a vegan diet, then adding a supplement is the best source. But definitely certain amount of mushrooms, chia seeds will give you vitamin D, because they also help give you calcium. So both together will help absorb it better, and at the same time adding healthy fats from nuts and seeds will help improve the absorption of vitamin D and calcium also in the diet. So vitamin D rich foods, if you're a vegan, then definitely look for mushrooms or chia seeds, etc. But if you're a vegetarian, include forms of milk, which is low fat milk or yogurts. That is better. And also egg yolks, if you're vegetarian. If you include eggs, then it's fine. Alternatively, other than supplementation for vegans, fortified milks, plant-based milks will always be fortified with vitamin B12, vitamin D, calcium. Tofu will also be fortified with calcium and some form of vitamin D, so you can include those foods in your diet. What brand do you recommend for vegan tacos? Okay, ideally I would do them myself. For vegan tacos, you will get whole breads, whole wheat breads. I don't have a particular brand that I follow, but any brand that you see, look at the backside and see if there is any milk added to it. If there's any eggs added to it, then obviously that is not for you. I do know that I think. Old El Paso does it, if I'm not wrong, a vegan version, or even Bob's Red Mill brand also does it. So I would say those for vegan tacos, or you can make them yourself. Like if you have, corn tortillas, you just wrap them, in a shell form, put them in the oven, and then make it hard, and it should become your tacos. So I would suggest corn tortillas would be ideally best to make your tacos. Alternatively, look at the Bob's Red Mill brand. I definitely think there is, vegan tacos that they have. Okay, is there any other questions from the audience? If not, then I'm going to close the session for today. Thank you for joining in, and definitely tune in again on Friday, where we're going to do a free webinar about immunity and how to boost your immunity as well, which is so much a need at this time, right? So tune in on Friday and look for the post on our page for the timings and everything. And don't forget to join in, because you are definitely going to get a freebie post attending the webinar session. Thank you so much for joining today's session, and I look forward to connecting with all of you on next Monday and for the next upcoming sessions.